guys, in this episode, we will tackle about lying is ever justified, a Kantian ethics versus utilitarianism. So, let's start. Welcome to the Ethical Perspective. In this episode, we will explore the fascinating world of moral philosophy and how it applies to the real world scenarios. And I am Clifford.
I am Christine. I'm Miss Anne, and today we're diving into a topic that we've all likely pondered at some point in our lives. Is lying ever justified?
That's right. This is a moral classical dilemma that pits two ethical theories, Kantian ethics and utilitarianism. So, what exactly does it mean to lie? Can there be a scenario that lying is right thing to do? We explore both sides today.
Let's start with the basic. What is lying? In simple terms, lying is intentionally providing false information to deceive someone. It is an action that most of us would agree who is morally wrong under normal circumstances. The question is it ever morally acceptable to lie?
Exactly. That's where Kantian ethics and utilitarianism come into play. A Kantian ethics is developed by philosopher Immanuel Kant that actions are morally right or wrong based on whether they adhere to moral laws or maxims. For Kant, lying is always wrong, no exceptions, that he believed that if everyone lied, trust would break down completely. So lying can't be justified in extreme situation.
That's a strong stance. Kant would say that lying violates the dignity of others by treating them as means to an end rather than an end to themselves. So no matter what consequences is, lying is impermissible.
On the flip side, we have utilitarianism, which focuses on the consequences of actions. The core idea here, as famously put forward by philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, is that the right action is the one that maximizes happiness and or minimizes sufferings for the greatest number of people.
Util- Utilitarianism is much more flexible when it comes to lying. In this framework, if lying results in overall happiness or prevent harm, then it could be justified. For example, you're hiding someone from a dangerous person and they've asked that you've sent them. A utilitarianism might argue that lying to protect that person's life is morally right thing to do.
Right, it's very situational approach. If the lie benefits the greater goods, it seems as acceptable, sometimes even necessary. Kant would say that even it saves life, a lie is just unjustifiable. But the opposite is the utilitarianism will argue the exact opposite.
Now, let's bring these theories into the real world with an example. One classic ethical thought experiment that relates to utilitarianism is the trolley problem. Imagine you're standing at a lever, and a trolley is headed towards five people who will be killed if it keeps on going. However, if you pull the lever, the trolley will switch tracks and kill one person instead. The dilemma is, would you pull the lever to sacrifice one and save five?
This is perfect example of utilitarian thinking. A utilitarian would argue that pulling the lever is morally right choice because it minimizes overall harm. However, if we apply Kantian ethics here, the situation changes. A Kantian might argue that intentionally choosing to kill someone or even to save others are morally wrong because a Kantian because you're still using that persons as means to an end.
It is an intense dilemma and really highlights the two ethical theories that can lead to a vastly different conclusions in the same situation.
Let's bring it into the world of medicine, where ethical decisions are often made under life and death pressure. Imagine a doctor who has only enough resources to save one patient. One is a young child with a rare disease, and the other is an elderly person with a much more treatable condition. The doctor could lie to the elderly person about their prognosis to keep their spirits up, while they prioritize treatment for the child.
From a utilitarian perspective, the doctor might argue that lying to elderly person could result in less emotional distress and a greater chance of happiness in a long term, especially if the doctor is able to protect the child. But from a Kantian perspective, the lie is always unacceptable as it disrespects the elderly person's autonomy and dignity.
It is a tough situation and one that doesn't have a clear cut answer. But these examples show just how complex and nuanced ethical decision making can be a real life scenario.
As we wrap up, we hope you've gained some insights into how two different ethical theories can clash when it comes to the question of lying. The world is full of moral gray areas, and ethical decisions are rarely black and white.
So here's a thought-provoking questions for you. Our listeners, can we ever justify an action like lying? The outcome leads to more happiness or less harm even if it goes against more principles like Kant's. Should we always hold ourselves to universal moral rules regardless of the consequences?
We love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to reach out on us on social media or drop us on message with your perspectives. Thanks for tuning in into the ethical perspective here in our channel.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking, and always keep exploring the ethical dimensions of life.
Take care, everyone.
Bye and thanks for listening. See you
Bye-bye.
next
See you next
episode.
episode.